whatever you are doing, look at this map. You see France? You see Spain? Now look at the border between them. What do you see? Nothing, right? Just a small place called Andorra. But in July 1954, a man walked into Tokyo Airport, and he swore on his life that Andorra does not exist. Instead, he claimed that Spot belonged to a country called Taured. He wasn't crazy. He wasn't drunk. He was about to present evidence that would terrify the Japanese police and break the laws of physics. This is the story of the man who fell out of reality. The nightmare began at the customs counter. The man handed over his passport. It looked 100% authentic. It had the texture, the watermarks, and the official seals. But the country issued on the cover was Taured. The officer froze. He asked, "Sir, this country doesn't exist." The man laughed. He thought it was a joke. He said, "My country has existed for 1,000 years." The police dragged him into an interrogation room. They slammed a world map on the table. The man pointed his finger right here. "This is Taured," he shouted. But when he saw Andorra printed on the paper, his face went pale. He started sweating. He stepped back in horror. Imagine waking up one day, and your house, your city, your entire history has been erased from the map. That is exactly how he felt. Now, you might think, he's just a liar. But here is where it gets scary. The police searched his bag. He had a driver's license, issued in Taured. He had bank checks from a bank in Taured. He had stamps on his passport from trips he took just last week, from airports that verified his travel. He spoke fluent French. He spoke Japanese. He had a business meeting scheduled with a real company in Tokyo. But when the police called that company, they said, "We have never heard of this man." The hotel he booked, the reservation vanished. The bank on his checkbook, it didn't exist. It was as if he was a ghost, living a real life in a world that wasn't ours. The police were terrified. They were dealing with something they couldn't explain. So, they did the only thing they could do. They locked him up. They took him to a hotel on a high floor. The room was a fortress, no balcony, heavy windows sealed shut, one single door. And just to be absolutely sure, they placed 2 armed guards right outside that door. They stood there all night. Through the thunder and rain, the guards didn't move an inch. They swore that the door never opened, not even for a second. The man was trapped. There was physically no way out. Morning came. The sun rose. The officers arrived to take the prisoner. The guards nodded. "He is inside," they said. They unlocked the door. They walked in. And then, silence. The room was empty. The bed was made. The windows were still locked. The man was gone. But that wasn't the scariest part. The police ran back to the airport safe where they had locked his Taured passport. They opened the safe. It was empty. Every piece of paper, every proof of his existence had vanished into thin air. The man from Taured didn't just escape a room. He escaped our universe. Desperate for answers, the Japanese Secret Service launched a covert investigation. Could he have been a high-level spy? Some argued that the passport was a masterpiece of forgery, designed to test border security. But this theory crumbled quickly. If he was a spy, why carry a passport from a country that doesn't exist? That's not a cover. That's an immediate arrest warrant. Moreover, the stamps on his passport were genuine. He had traveled to Tokyo multiple times over the past 5 years using the same documents. Customs officials checked their old logs, and to their horror, they found his name. He had been here before. He had stayed in this very city, used this very passport, and no one had noticed. How could a man from a non-existent nation pass through international borders for years without a single red flag? Unless, at those moments, Taured was real. This brings us to the most chilling explanation: the multiverse. Modern quantum physics suggests that there are infinite versions of Earth, separated only by frequency. In one world, the Roman Empire never fell. In another, the Nazis won the war. And in one specific reality, the small territory between France and Spain wasn't named Andorra. It was the Kingdom of Taured. Think of it as a quantum glitch. For a few hours, the barriers between two parallel worlds became thin. This man, an ordinary businessman in his own world, simply walked through a rift. He didn't know he was in a different universe until he handed over his passport. He wasn't a liar. He was a victim of a cosmic accident. When he was locked in that hotel room, the rift may have reopened, pulling him and everything he brought with him back to his own timeline. To this day, the story of Taured remains the ultimate evidence of the unseen world. It reminds us that our maps are only as good as our perception. Somewhere in another dimension, perhaps that man is telling his friends about a strange trip he took to a place called Tokyo, where the people were convinced his home didn't exist. We live on a thin crust of reality, and every now and then, someone falls through the cracks. So, the next time you feel like you don't belong, just remember the man from Taured. Maybe you're just in the wrong version of Earth.